Hi, you guys. Hi, everybody. Come on in. Welcome. I tried to pin this. I don't think I'm technically able to do that because of my brain, but come on in. We're going to be talking about my modern fertility hormone tests. I got my results. Hi, everybody. Hi, D'Amica. Hi, you guys. This is like such an awesome thing, okay? Because there really is a huge gap between when a young girl first gets her period and that same young girl may get an infertility diagnosis. There is a huge gap of conversation about being proactive about your fertility health, your ovarian reserve, and what's going on. So thank you guys for joining. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in Afton. Afton is the CEO and she is the co-founder of Modern Fertility. It's an at-home, this here, comprehensive fertility hormone test. I just pricked my finger. I put a little blood sample on the slide, sent it away, and now I have my results. And you guys are going to know, and I'm going to know what's going on with my ovaries in my womb. Okay, so now let me get Afton in here so she can say hi to everybody. There she is. I see all the other people that requested to come in. Thank you for that. But we're going to do this first, and then we're going to do questions. So we're going to do a whole thing. Hi.
Hi!
How are you?
I am so good. I have been looking forward to this all week. Thank you for having me, and I'm just so excited to talk through all of this.
Oh, thank you, Afton. Isn't she beautiful, y'all? Just like give her like a lot of hearts. I want to put a lot of eggs up on my live because, you know, this is about, it's about our ovaries. So put some eggs up for Afton.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, guys. This
Yes,
is we
this
are starting out on the right foot. I will take it.
we really are. So I'm going to tell some people that may not know my story how I got to where I'm at in the fertility world. And then we could talk about your story and how we connected and decided that we could really like do some amazing thing for women out there. There's some eggs. I see them coming on. Hi, Phenomenally Autistic. I love you, girl. Okay, so you guys, those that don't know, I was in a long-term relationship for 7 years. Thought he was going to be the one, you know, the whole thing. We broke up and then boom, I was 37 years old. And I realized that I had not checked on my fertility and I didn't know what to do. And I decided to go freeze my eggs. I see all those eggs coming. And I called a fertility specialist. I went through basically a fertility diagnostic test, which is the beginning of an IVF cycle, where they took some blood tests. He did a vaginal ultrasound while I was on my cycle. I was able to look at my follicles in real time on the screen, and he told me I was a good candidate to freeze. So I called the infamous Mama Stu, who is my mother. There she is. She just put up 2 hearts for us.
Oh,
And
yay!
hi, Mama Stu. And she came out and we gave myself all those hormone injections, froze them, and I got 29 eggs successfully frozen. But what I realized as the years went on, and the man didn't come, was that I was starting to panic about, well, what do I do? Are those eggs going to still work? I called my fertility specialist. They put me on the phone with the embryologist, who is a scientist that looks at the eggs and the chromosomes and all that, and said, you're fine and don't worry. A lot of women call here panicking. And once I heard that a lot of women call here panicking, I realized something is very, very wrong. That the infertility industry is really happening because women wait till the last minute to know what's going on in their ovaries. We don't teach it in health class. We don't get a fertility diagnostic test in our annual gynecological exams. We get screened for STDs and we get a pap smear, but no one tells us what's going on with our eggs. And ladies and anybody that's listening, you are born with as many eggs as you are ever going to have. You do not make more. You don't make more eggs. So once they're gone, they're gone. And the truth is they're actually 4 months older than you. So when we are in the womb as little babies and we're 4 months old, that is when our eggs as women are formed. So when we're born, our eggs are they already are 4 months older. So it's really important to have a conversation about proactive fertility health, which brings you, Afton.
Well, that is just the perfect intro. And I just feel like I could hear you educate me on fertility and proactive reproductive health all day. But like you describing your journey is a version of the founding story of modern fertility. So yeah, Modern Fertility, we started the company as a fertility information company. We felt like the entire conversation about fertility was very reactive as opposed to proactive. And my personal experience was that I actually started out on the finance side of things, trying to make investments in a network of IVF clinics and labs. And so it was my first job out of school. So I was, 22 at the time, going around the country into all of these clinics. And I was learning the business. I was learning the science. I got to learn about what ovarian reserve was at 22 years old. But it was really the emotional part that stuck with me. There were so many women that I was meeting in these clinics who told me, my doctor never told me that fertility declined with age, or, I didn't know that IVF wouldn't work for every single person if I were trying it later in life. And that really stuck with me. And I just felt like at 22, I had this like really unique window into this world of fertility, and something that my girlfriends wouldn't be talking about for quite some time. And I couldn't really get it out of my head. And, fast forward, I moved out, and joined a variety of women's health and different personalized health companies. And I realized that I was waiting until later in life to start my own family. But I remembered those baseline tests, the same ones that you got, that I had learned about back in this research phase when I was in finance. And I was like, oh, like I should get those done. I just want this baseline. I want to understand more about my body. And I asked my OBGYN, and they said, no, you're not actively trying and failing to conceive. And so, no, like just that, no, we're not going to order them for you.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
And so I had to go into an infertility clinic to get a script. It took me probably, 3-4 months to pinpoint. If you do get a menstrual cycle, you have to do these tests on day 3 of your menstrual cycle. And I had a really irregular period. Actually, as a part of this, I got diagnosed with PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, which affects 1 in 10 women. It wasn't until this process that I got that diagnosis. But because my period was all over the place, it was hard for me to plan. But when I finally got those results back, it was just so empowering to have a conversation with myself, my doctor, my partner, about my body, my timeline, my reproductive health. But then the kicker was I got a bill in the mail for $1,500, and that was on top of the consult and everything else. And so really, I was pretty open about my experience, kind of having conversations like this one, and realized that every single person with ovaries that I spoke with was like, yeah, I'm thinking about the same thing. I want more information. They didn't know that they were born with all the eggs they were ever going to have at birth, and that number went to almost 0 at menopause. And that, steady decline can tell us a lot about our bodies, if we're good candidates or not for egg freezing, and just what that looks like. And you have to look on the inside. You have to look at your blood to understand these different dimensions. And that was really the birth of Modern Fertility. We wanted to take those exact same laboratory tests that you would do in an infertility clinic, typically if you were having trouble getting pregnant, out of the clinic, and make them available to women earlier in life at a fraction of the cost in this really easy to access format. But we wanted to do something bigger, continue research, and actually building out better predictors of future fertility and all of this, but also just shift the dialogue on a national, international level, start to take fertility and take it away from something that's so stigmatized, away from something that we don't talk about with our girlfriends, to something that is just a normal thing. It's a part of your health. And how can we make your fertility hormones and checking in as routine as a pap smear, and just have this as a part of normal care. So that's us. That's Modern Fertility. And I am so excited to to be here diving into all of it with you.
You guys, you have to clap it up for like Afton and women supporting women, because what you said was so important about making this normal and taking away any of the stigmas or any of the negative feelings about not knowing what's going on in your body, because I didn't know how fertility worked in my body until I was 37. And the reason I am so passionate about this is because this is the conversation I wish I was watching on a live when I was 25 years old, when I was 30 years old, you know, and this is something that is so important. I even see my brother All Day Nico on here, Kellee Jen Wright. I have to shout out All Day Nico. He actually plays Uncle Clifford on Stars' P-Valley. It's like the hit show of the summer. And as a man, he put our live out today on his feed to his 350,000 followers because he is an egg advocate. He's
Yes.
the future godfather of my frozen eggs. But also we need to empower men to make this normal too, so that we as women, whether you're partnered with a man or partnered with another woman, that we do not feel like we are failures or something is wrong with us because our bodies aren't doing what we want them to do or expect them to do because we didn't know. Like, you didn't know PCOS. I have a friend that she found out she had breast cancer by going to freeze her eggs. So this is a health issue. You know, the spirit of her unborn baby, her desire to want children is what sent her to freeze her eggs. And that's how they found out that something else was going on with her, and it saved her life. So our ovaries literally are life, you know? So, so what you said, so you got a $1,500 bill and you've created this amazing packet here that was sent to my home to take the test. So you guys, what I did was, all I had to do was open this up and read all the instructions, which were very easy. You did this brilliantly, Afton. You and all of the women did this brilliantly. I pricked my little finger, as you guys saw. I put a video of that. And there's 2 slides that were sent to me. And I just had to get the blood sample onto the slides, put it back in a medically sealed envelope, mail it away. And then what happens is there's an email that comes with my test results. I have access to a nurse practitioner, you guys, that will go over the results with me so that I understand everything that's going on. But Afton's going to do that for us today.
Yes.
And also, there's also an online community at modernfertility.com of women just like you and me, figuring it out. And you can take this test at any age, whether you're in a relationship or not. Even if you're booed up and you're engaged, if you don't know what's going on in your ovaries, you don't know what's going on in your ovaries. So speaking of which, I'm not booed up and engaged, but do you have my test results?
I do have your test results. I got a copy. Just for the record, I would normally never have a copy of your test results. We value security. Everything is based on a consent-based system in terms of sharing. But I am super excited to dive in. I will caveat this with the fact that I am not a doctor. Modern Fertility was founded in partnership with a lot of doctors. We have an amazing, amazing medical advisory board with reproductive endocrinologists, OBGYNs, all of the content. So this dashboard that you got access to is actually customized to you. So every word of every sentence we customize based on your hormones, based on your age, based on your intake survey. And we do all of that in partnership with the medical community. So all of this has been reviewed by doctors before it's in front of you. And then, as you said, if you have more questions, you can do a one-on-one consult with a fertility nurse. You can always join our community of modern women. Every week we have a free weekly webinar that we call an Agonar, where if you like listening to podcasts as opposed to reading your dashboard, you can just understand more there. So really, we are about having this information accessible however you want to receive it. It's really, whatever is best for you. We want to meet you where we are and really give you that baseline understanding so that you can have a more informed conversation with your doctor and understand understand the role of all of these hormones, the role of other health factors as a part of your fertility and reproductive health.
I love that. This is so important. This is so good. And I really wish that I had this sooner, but I'm glad I have it now. And I know the holidays are coming up. These are the things that I would gift women, honestly.
I love that idea.
And I even talked to my brother, who, my niece is only 11 years old, but he's like, you know what? I think I'm going to put away a fund for her to freeze her eggs if she wants to do something in her career or travel or whatever, so that she has the opportunity to understand her fertility health early. And I'm going to be completely transparent, you guys. Okay. So women can take this at any age. And of course,
well, it's specifically, I'll give you a caveat there. It's 21 through 45. So that is the full, and the reason for that is that because we worked with doctors to customize all of our content, you can test these hormones whenever you want, but in order to get our customized reports and results that go along with them, that's the age range. And then if you're outside of that, then we recommend you go to your doctor. And then when you're in that range, you can continue to test and retest with Modern Fertility, because since your fertility changes over time, you can actually track that in our system and understand how your hormones are fluctuating with age.
You guys, how cool is that? All right. Well, I am on the latter end of that age range. And listen, and I'm proud to say it. Okay. I'm not going to
I couldn't tell. I could not tell.
Y'all, I am 45 years old, and I took the Modern Fertility hormone test, okay, at 45. So I wouldn't know.
Right, I would never know. And this is why you have to, on fertility, you just never know. You got to look on the inside.
You never know. And I don't want to hide it, because number one, I'm very proud and grateful that God allowed me to live 45 long, beautiful, healthy years. But also, I think that age shaming and all of that kind of stuff, it has to go away. Get the information when you get the information. You know, I have a cousin that had a baby at 46 years old. I know a woman that had a baby at 54. And I know that these things, and naturally, but I know that these things fluctuate. But what happens is sometimes we sit on our couch and we reach the age of 35. And then we think we heard that number before, that, the fertility declines and it's over. And it could just be the beginning, if that's the age that you start to figure this out. Now, we want women to do this earlier. You know, I froze my eggs at 37. So I do have this insurance that I'm so happy I have now. But you have created something that really is going to empower women. So I'm so grateful to be a part of Modern Fertility. So let's go over my Modern test results, shall we?
Yes. So at a high level, we basically, when you come to our site and you tell us if you're on any type of birth control or not, we work on our back end to customize your panel based on the type of birth control, if any. Birth control is fantastic. It's right for some women. It's not right for others. But what it can do is impact ovulation. And some of the hormones that we measure are tied to ovulation. And so if you are not taking any type of birth control, or you are taking birth control but still ovulating, that means we can measure the comprehensive set of hormones that we test for, which are AMH, anti-Müllerian hormone, FSH, estradiol, testosterone. We'll get into them.
We'll get into
but yeah, maybe we start with just anti-Müllerian hormone, AMH, and talking a little bit about ovarian reserve.
Okay, and I am not on birth control, for the record, for those that needed to know. I'm not on birth control, and we have my anti-Müllerian hormone, my AMH level here. So what it says here, you guys, is my number is 3.33, which is considered high. Can you guys see that? High. So can you tell us what that means?
Yeah, so we're going to go in and do a little bit, a science lesson on AMH. So AMH is a super cool hormone. It's basically secreted by the cells that surround the follicles in your ovary. And so by measuring the amount of AMH that you have in your blood, it's actually a proxy of how many eggs you have in your ovaries right now. And so what's really interesting is there have been several studies done that actually show that when you do one of those transvaginal ultrasounds where you count the number of eggs you have in your ovaries, that AMH is actually a better indicator of how many eggs you have in your ovaries than a transvaginal ultrasound. A transvaginal ultrasound is still really important if you're pursuing treatment and all of these other factors, but sometimes if you're just trying to count your eggs, you can miss some of the smaller follicles in the background. And so AMH is this really cool, relatively recent hormone when you look at the history of reproductive health hormones that really gives us an indicator of your overall ovarian reserve. And so 3.33, the way that it works is there's basically an expected range of the amount of eggs and follicles that you should have in your ovaries for your age. And so for your age, having 3.33, having that level of eggs in your ovaries is considered high. If you were to look at, let's say, a woman in her late 20s, 3.33 would be considered normal. And so your AMH and the number of eggs in your ovaries on that trajectory from birth to menopause is basically decreasing at a slightly different rate for every single person. So just like everyone has a slightly different metabolism, they have a slightly different rate of decline of their ovarian reserve. And AMH is a really interesting measure to look at that. And so the things that we can learn from AMH, you mentioned at the beginning that you went in, you got these tests done, that you were a great candidate for egg freezing. So the way that egg freezing works is they actually will go in, you inject yourself with a lot of medication, you stimulate all of these follicles, they all grow. All of them grow, as opposed to typically, if you were to just ovulate every month, one grows and you ovulate it. But when you're egg freezing, you grow all of them. So if you have, I know I love this. So if you have a high ovarian or higher ovarian reserve, that means it's just more follicles to work with. And so when you go through an egg freezing process, it's correlated to a more successful outcome. That doesn't mean that if you are super low or super high, egg freezing or IVF won't work. It's just, think of egg freezing as a funnel. At every stage of the process, from retrieving the eggs to inserting them back in the ovaries to implanting or to the uterus to implanting in the endometrial lining, there's kind of risk in every part of that. So starting with a higher number is helpful. Two more quick things on AMH. I could talk about this all day, but I have to stop myself. Really helpful in understanding menopause onset. So the average age of menopause onset is 51 years old, but that's an average. And so we start to go through our fertility decline before that. And so based on if you have very low or very high AMH, it can kind of be an indicator of menopause onset at a higher level. I'm Italian, can you tell?
Yeah.
And then the third bucket is red flags. And so AMH is helpful in understanding more about PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, and POI, premature ovarian insufficiency. So basically, if you're super high or very low, those are really important health indicators because both PCOS and POI indicate or have implications around your fertility, around your reproductive health, but also other health conditions. And so it's a starting point of a conversation with your doctor.
It's a starting point of a conversation. So if these levels are abnormally high or abnormally low, you might want to look into whether or not there's an underlying condition that you may not be aware of yet. Right?
Yeah. So what's really, it can go so many different things. So for example, with me having PCOS, sometimes I don't ovulate in a given month. And if I'm not ovulating, then there's no egg that a sperm could meet, and I have no chance of getting pregnant if I'm not ovulating. But thanks to science, there's great medication, there are great alternatives to understand that. And thanks to Modern Fertility's newest products, you can actually track and see if you're ovulating by taking easy LH test strips and scanning them into our app, and it's great. On the opposite end of the spectrum, POI, premature ovarian insufficiency, if it's super undetectable levels, that does play a role in your ability to get pregnant naturally. Natural pregnancy is still possible via spontaneous ovulation, but it can tie to cardiovascular health indications, just a multitude of other health issues. So it's really, really important that you see your doctor. That prevalence is a little bit lower. It's about one in 100 women.
Okay. First of all, oh my God, you guys, if you don't put up a bunch of eggs and a bunch of claps, because you are getting such an amazing lesson. And I know, Afton, like you said, you're not a doctor. I'm not a doctor. A lot of this has been like the research that you've had to do to start this amazing company and continue to talk to doctors all day, every day. But I had to just pause to say, thank you. You are getting an education, you guys, on this live. You just heard about AMH hormone. So now we're going to go on to the FSH hormone, which is follicle stimulating hormone, which
Yes.
I learned about as well during my freeze. And so my level here says I am, okay, hold on. I am 45, like I said. 6.82 normal. So it says 6.82 normal. Can you guys see that? That's my FSH, my follicle stimulating hormone. Go.
Yes. So follicle stimulating hormone, it's, I would say, also in this family of helping you understand your ovarian reserve and just that overall process. The important thing about FSH, if you ever get your FSH tested, make sure that you are testing estradiol, E2 in combination with FSH, because the way that hormones work in your body is that if you have a really high estradiol, it could mask what would be an otherwise high FSH. So I'll get into a little bit more about, and don't worry, Modern Fertility measures both. So we got you covered.
I was just about to say this right here. The E2, my E2, you're talking about both. E2, my level, you guys, is 76.7, and that says normal. So that's the E2.
And the great thing about all of this, you're seeing the printout here. It's easy to print out your results. It's easy to look at everything, but you can click on every single one of these results in the Modern Fertility dashboard, and you get all of this custom content that you can go back to.
There's so much content there. It was just, I am scrolling forever, and I have like pages of stuff, you guys. I don't know if you can see this. And this isn't all of it. I just printed the first 15 pages. And this is
oh my gosh, I haven't tried to print it before. That's a lot.
And it's all customized to my test that I did on October 5th. So FSH is our follicle stimulating hormone. And like you said, with the E2. And should we, anything else you want to say about either one of those?
Just real quick, I'll give the high level of FSH and why it's so cool. So FSH is a hormone that's actually released by your pituitary gland.
Which is
in the brain.
Yep.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, this is, we should tag team these. This is,
yes. For a reason, okay.
And so what happens is, it basically jump starts or kick starts ovulation. And so if your brain has to release a lot of FSH to jumpstart ovulation, that typically means that you have a lower egg count because it has to work extra hard to give your body enough FSH to jumpstart that process. Yes. Exactly. And so typically doctors will look at a high FSH, typically that corresponds to a low AMH, and that's just helpful in forming kind of this overall picture of, okay, how hard does FSH have to work to jumpstart that process? And so again, it's, I would say in the timeline of fertility, doctors used to rely really, really heavily on FSH. Now AMH is kind of like the new, like cool AMH kid.
Is the cool, VIP. It's this AMH got the bottle service at the club in the ovary.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
And FSH, they're outside of the ropes.
They're like a little bit outside, but they still get in because they're still helpful. It's really important to understand kind of how all of these work together. Right. And sometimes you can have discordant AMH and FSH. And so let's say one is really high and the other's high, then that's just other things for your doctor to look into. And so we really like having this comprehensive view, looking at all of these hormones. But if you're on birth control, you can't test FSH because a lot of birth control oral contraceptive pills will block it, but that's okay. We got you covered because AMH, you can still measure. It can still be impacted a little bit, but we walk you through all of that in our reports.
She said she got you covered. You can still get in the club. Even if you're on birth control, you can still take the test and get some comprehensive results. And for those that might not know, and Afton, you can correct me if I'm wrong, exactly what a follicle is that it is a fluid-filled little sac where the cell of an egg is inside of that, you guys. It's released from the ovaries. And a little fun fact, the smallest human cell that's not visible to the human eye is the sperm cell. The largest and only human cell and the only cell that's visible to the naked eye is that of an egg.
Okay, so I feel like next time we have to do some egg trivia.
The
And
base,
we just
yeah.
have to, this is so good. Like, I didn't even know that. This
Now,
is
how
just
cool
like,
is
this
that?
made my
And
day.
because we are literally life. Like the only cell in a human body that's visible to the naked eye is an egg cell. That is how cool
Wow.
and magical all of this is. Okay, so that was a little fun fact for you. So now we're going to go on to PRL. My PRL hormone says here it is a 6.37 and it is also normal. So far
Yep.
so good. You see that, you guys? My PRL, 6.37. Okay, what's
Our
that about?
security is too good. I got timed out of my account, so I'm logging back in right
Oh,
behind. Yes, so prolactin, PRL, is another really important hormone. I would say this is the one that can be a little bit sensitive. So prolactin, I would put it in kind of the red flag territory. So if it's really, really high, typically we retest. Typically it's a flag with your doctor, but it can be impacted by a lot of different things. So for example, if you go running or you stimulate your breast before you take the Modern Fertility test, all of those can impact prolactin. And so again, we're looking for prolactin secreting tumors. When you talk about your reproductive health being an indicator of your broader health, these are all important. We call them kind of like fertility detectives and clues along the way. So you're talking about PRL right now, but I would also put thyroid in that category. And so should we
should we
talk
go
through
on to the
your
LH then?
so thyroid
The TSH,
TSH.
the TSH.
Yes.
Let's go on to the TSH and talk about thyroid. And before you even go on to that, one time I was very, very tired for a very long time. Nico, my god brother, who is still on here, thank you, Nico, would come over and try to lift up my spirits, and I just couldn't get myself together, and my appetite was weird, and I just couldn't wake up, and I couldn't wake up, and I swore it was my thyroid. I mean, I swore it was my thyroid. And then I went to an endocrinologist who told me, dear, I think you're depressed. So that, and he
But
was
they're
right
so,
because they took the
yeah.
test. And
Yeah.
so he was right, but hormones are such a sensitive thing in our
So, yes.
body that, you might not know what it is, but I was so glad that I got my thyroid checked because I had never done so before. I didn't know what was going on, you know what I mean? And then I got a good therapist. But let's go on to my TSH. No,
Yeah.
he's
So,
okay. Okay, so the TSH, which is for the thyroid, right? That is 1.12, and it says normal. See
yes.
that, guys? Okay.
So thyroid, I would put in this kind of general health bucket as well. So thyroid, as you said, really important, and really important for it to be in check if you are actively trying to conceive. And so what's really interesting and kind of the impetus of putting thyroid in our panel is when you look at the standard of care for a preconception visit, doctors recommend that you get your thyroid tested. But now, since we're moving all over the country, we're maybe not going to the doctor as much as we should have, the majority of women don't say, oh, hi, doctor, I'm planning on trying to conceive. Can you please do all of these tests? That preconception visit just isn't really the norm for most women anymore. And so testing your thyroid and understanding if that is in the normal range is really important and has a really large impact on your pregnancy and pregnancy health. And so we test for thyroid and free thyroxine. Basically, if you have an abnormal thyroid, we, for free, included in the initial price point, will retest your thyroid and free thyroxine on top of that as kind of a reflex test, and will help you understand just where you are in range. And I would say that we've just had so many powerful stories come out of thyroid testing of women who, and for modern fertility, I would say the majority of folks are a few years away from starting to try to conceive. We have some folks that are actively trying to conceive and they want just all of the data about their process. And the number of stories that we've heard of, oh, I've been trying to conceive for a year. I didn't know what was wrong. But then, similar to your story, my modern fertility results were high. I took them to my doctor. I got tested again, and I realized I had a massive thyroid issue. And that was the reason that I wasn't able to get pregnant, but also the reason that I was so tired and that I didn't have energy and that I was feeling depressed and all of these other factors. And so hormones, they're your fertility detectives, but your reproductive health and your general health also so tied together. So this is my thyroid advocacy pitch.
Do you guys see how important it is to be proactive here, and how great Modern Fertility is to be able to offer this? And I want you guys, if you have any questions, go ahead and type it in and put it in the question thing, and I'll figure out how to do that, because we're gonna answer some questions now, right? And but it's again, I can't reiterate enough, because you know, I stumbled upon becoming a self-proclaimed, you know, egg advocate. You know, I'm an actress and a writer and a producer. Doing this was not my thing. Why it became my thing is because I saw how we are not informed as women, how I was not informed as a woman. And I feel a responsibility to let other women know what I wish I knew earlier, you know? And so this is why what you're doing with Modern Fertility is so important, you guys. Whether you get it for yourself, whether you get it for a girlfriend, a niece, you know, a best friend, having this hormone panel, it's empowering to understand how much hormones affect our fertility, and like you said, our general wellness overall. Just to know, like, oh, I might be depressed because this hormone is acting up. You know, it might not just be, you know, what you might think it is. It's something could be going on in your body, and you guys deserve to know that. So I see Damika says it's going to be her daughter's Christmas present. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So I'm going to go and see if there's any questions. If you guys want to ask Afton any questions about Modern Fertility, this amazing company, about any hormones, about our process with you and your PCOS, freezing eggs, anything like that, you guys please type them in here. So Afton, let's see. Okay.
And while you're looking at questions, I just want to say that this is what Modern Fertility is about. You coming here, having this conversation, having this experience, and then using your platform to just normalize it and have it more broadly, I just think is amazing for women. So thank you for just
thank you for finding me, because now that you found me, you're never gonna let me go, because I ain't gonna let you go. Okay.
Yes.
So we have a question here. Can you take it on birth control? What's different about this versus being off birth control? That's the question.
Yeah, so that's a great question. You can take Modern Fertility on or off birth control. We just have slightly different hormones that we test if you are on birth control. So birth control actually masks a lot of the hormones on your body, and is used as a treatment for PCOS and understanding all of these things. And so what's really interesting is that for a lot of women, you're on birth control most of your life, you come off birth control and you're like, oh my gosh, you know, where is my body? And so Modern Fertility helps you have that check-in while you're still on birth control. It can help give you that baseline. And then from there, you can choose to retest again. You can kind of continue the process. Birth control does, for some women, slightly suppress their AMH level. There's no way that birth control could make your AMH level get higher, but we include that indication in the reports. And actually really very exciting, this is like so nerdy, but this is what makes me happy, is that at the major fertility industry conference this year, American Society for Reproductive Medicine, Modern Fertility was selected for a big presentation on the effects of being on birth control and AMH. And we have published what we believe is the largest study that's ever been done using our consented database to show how these levels. So we are all about women, people with ovaries, taking our test and then using that to really push science forward, funds to conduct more research, and then take those findings and incorporate them back into our test and back to our customers.
Wow, you guys, eggs up. Put some eggs up. That's amazing. And even how inclusive you are. I heard you said women, people with ovaries. Did you guys hear Afton? Did you get it? People with ovaries. We are inclusive of all the things. So I love it. Somebody has a question really quickly. Do you ship overseas? While I go onto the question board here. Do you ship overseas, Afton?
We unfortunately do not ship overseas at this point, but if you are interested, please DM, send a note to Modern Fertility, and we'll add you to the list.
Okay, got you. Perfect. Somebody has a question. If a friend is looking to conceive, would it be rude to support her by sending her a modern fertility test?
You know, I think that's a really good question. And I think that, everyone approaches their trying to conceive journey a bit differently. I gift or I typically have an open conversation with my friends about the modern fertility product in their trying to conceive journey. I would say there's kind of, two folks of people, and this really or two groups of people, and this kind of came up when we were developing our ovulation testing product. You have the group of folks that are just like, great, if they're with a heterosexual partner, I'm going to have a lot of sex. I'm going to try to conceive naturally. And then if it doesn't work, I'm going to see what's next. And then you have the other group, I'm in this camp, the planners that want all of the data you can possibly have, and then use that while trying to conceive. And so sometimes my approach is typically just to have an open conversation. And just see kind of how your friend's approaching the process.
Yeah,
And
I
then if
agree.
it's not a fit for them, they can gift it to someone else where it might be a fit. I think having more of these tests out in the world is just a win for everyone.
I agree. I think if we don't have the conversation, then we continue to suffer in silence, and we continue to not make it normal to talk about ovarian health, and to just to have these discussions as regular people with ovaries that want to discuss what is going on with the ovary. So I
Yeah.
agree. I think have that discussion. Somebody has a question that I'm reading right now on the screen. I'm 25, and the women in my family have a history of fibroid tumors and endometriosis.
hmm
Is this a good thing to do? Meaning, I guess, is the modern fertility testing a good thing to do?
Yeah, so the modern fertility test does not test for endometriosis or fibroids specifically, but we have this kind of comprehensive experience, content, AMAs with doctors, just all of these tools and resources where you can understand and learn more about every part of reproductive health. So I would say yes, as a system, we support learning for all of this, but in terms of there are no diagnostic tests that you can do from home around detecting fibroids, so we can't get into the science there. But yes, I would say if you do have a family history of anything, or if you don't, still checking in on your hormones, getting that baseline, understanding your reproductive health proactively is super important for everyone.
I agree. I fully agree. And, fibroids are a really big thing in the community of Black women, specifically. And one of the things that I just want to mention, since we're reading about fibroids here as well, is that, sometimes young people that are with ovaries that are getting their cycle in the African American community, like when they have painful cycles, sometimes, unfortunately, we think that that's normal. That when it's really painful, you're staying home for school. Oh, she's just on her period, and it's very heavy. She has heavy
Mm-hmm.
periods. You guys, when there's heavy periods, when they're painful and kids have to stay home from school, that is not a
Not normal.
normal thing. That is not a normal
Mm-hmm.
thing. That is an indication that there is an underlying condition present or becoming present. So take that young person to the doctor to find out, because that could be fibroids, that could be something else. But you should not have to be laying in bed at home, buckled up, in pain when you're having a menstrual cycle. That is not normal. That is an indication. It is a sign. Okay, so someone here says, if I have PCOS, which Afton does, so she knows, how will this test help me understand more about my fertility?
Yeah, so I think PCOS, a very common condition. It affects 1 in 10 women. And really understanding if you have PCOS, the impact that it has on ovulation, other health factors is really important. So in the Modern Fertility experience, we have an educational PCOS report that can really help to empower you with that baseline of, where are you? What is PCOS? How do you kind of gain that information yourself and have a more informed conversation with your doctor? We also have other solutions as a company. I mentioned our ovulation testing before, where you can actually test and see, am I ovulating or not? Which often, since ovulation and PCOS are so closely tied together, can be a really helpful tool and resource.
That's great. And there's an online community of women. Like you can join the online
Yeah.
community on Modern Fertility, right? So I imagine there's a place, and I will be joining very, very soon to just like talk to y'all. But I imagine that
Yay.
there's a place there where different women can share different stories about what's going on. And you might even be able to find like, oh, that is what I went through a couple of months ago, or, ooh, that's a red flag for me. So I think that what is so great about Modern Fertility, along with the testing, is that you guys have created a community where women can talk openly to each other so that we can learn from each other's experiences of what's going on in the ovary world, people with ovaries, and therefore you're not left out on an island by yourself, you know? And one thing that we didn't say here is how much is our Modern Fertility test? Now, I know if they go to the link on my page, if you guys go to the link in my bio, it's $10 off. But how much does this run somebody to get all of these wonderful things from Modern Fertility?
Great question. So it's $159, $10 off with your link, and it's FSA and HSA eligible. So you can use your flexible spending account, health savings account, if you want to cover the costs.
Y'all, let me tell you something. Somebody said, excessive reading said, do you have a code, Kellee? Yes, go in the link in my bio at KStew222, and you guys can click on that link. It'll be $10 off there. And so go ahead and do it. But $159 with $10 off of me. I mean, listen, I'd buy sneakers for that price. Okay. I buy, you know, we already know how much we waste money. And I only use that word because this is not a waste. This is an investment in your health and learning what's going on so that you can plan for your future, or at least start having the conversations with yourself about your future. One of the things that stays with me still is that when I was in that 7-year relationship that wasn't really going anywhere, I didn't realize that I was giving away my best baby making years. I didn't realize that. If I had known what was going on in my biology, I would have left that sucker 2 years in instead of 7 years out, you know? And so that's why, you know, to the people with ovaries, if you want to plan for your future, plan, you know, family planning and that type of thing, you really have to know how to take control, invest in your own body, invest in yourself, and understand you are not just spending time waiting for somebody to act right. You are giving them your biology. And if I had thought of it that way, then I truly, 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 I would have been out the door. So, and this wasn't around then, y'all. This wasn't around then, but it's around now. So and we're all at home, and that's the thing. Is that
it's fun. It's like arts and crafts in the morning. You just like prick your finger and go. No, and I appreciate you saying that. And, you know, on the price side of things, it was when we were starting the company, we got a lot of feedback to just, you know, make your price higher. Just, you know, it's $1,500 in the clinic. Why don't you, you know, increase your price more? And that wasn't aligned with our mission. We really wanted to take this thesis that this should be made available to everyone, take those economies of scale, and then pass all of those savings on to our customers, and invest in automation, invest in all of these digital tools, bring them to reproductive health. And so that was really the thesis behind all of it. And I just, to your point, it really, I mean, obviously I'm quite biased, but I think investing in yourself, understanding your baseline, and just starting to think about, you know, what is my plan? How many, do I want kids or not? Reproductive health is still important regardless, and maybe not kid number 1, but kid number 2 or kid number 3. How old am I going to be at those different points in time? And we have tools. We actually built a tool to do just that. If you go to modernfertility.com/timeline, you can put in your age, the number of kids you want. It's like you select little cute baby faces. And then it plots them on a graph, and you can understand. You made a comment at the beginning of, you know, we all know people that got pregnant in their 50s. We all know people that got pregnant in their 20s, but like, what is normal? What are the actual natural fertility rates for those ages? I had that question for myself. We all want this magic crystal ball that will tell us exactly what we're going to be like, and when we should start to have kids, and what that process looks like. And, you know, we're working on it, but we're not there yet. And so in the meantime, just your hormones, that kind of snapshot of where you are today, combining that with these other statistics can just put you in the driver's seat. And it's still not a guarantee. There's no such thing as a total insurance policy in this space,
Right.
but you can get better and have more information to start to make these decisions the right way. So I think I wish I could
That's
just keep you
awesome.
talking to hear all of that, because I think your story and just your advocacy for just proactive information is just like,
We have to do
it's spot
it. We
on.
have to take care of each other as women, because if men were the ones running out of sperm, there would be like a freaking
There would be a
sperm
whole
counting
industry.
day.
It would be like on
It
every
would be a
corner.
whole other thing. Like, we're not having it. I have a friend, she's a beautiful actress and a beautiful person. Her name is Kellee Stewart. And I mean, wow, she's stunningly talented. And she just wrote here, and she's just gorgeous. I could go on about her chocolate self forever. She said, I also ordered a kit and I got a $20 off code to share with someone. So she put it on here, you guys, if you see there, she put the
Oh,
link
it's so
and
nice.
she said, no kickback for me, just paying it forward. I hear
Oh,
you, Kellee Stewart. Thank you for paying it forward with Afton and myself, because we really love that. So I'm just going to you, Kellee. I'm just going to look to see if there's any more questions. If not, I'm going to wrap it up with you and thank you. So let me look to see if there's anything else anybody wants here. Okay, let's see. It's going to be from the actress Kellee Stewart. I believe it was said that having a high AMH could be a problem. Can you clarify this?
yeah. So for AMH, if it is considered high for your age, or let me take a step back. When we talk about high AMH, typically we talk about Rotterdam or PCOS as something that can be correlated with high AMH. The way that PCOS is typically diagnosed is by something called the Rotterdam criteria, which is super fun. It's basically a checklist where if you meet enough of the criteria, then you get the diagnosis of PCOS. So high AMH or AMH as a hormone test can often be used as part of thinking and helping your doctor understand, okay, maybe you have PCOS. And so if you have PCOS, that's really important to understand as a part of your fertility and reproductive health. And so it's a part of building that overall picture. So yes, understanding if you have high AMH can be a clue at hormones as your fertility detectives and helping build out that overall baseline and where you're starting from. There's also a few nuances in terms of egg quality and other things that are kind of deeper in the science there.
Yes, because even though we might have, according to my test, I probably have a good number of eggs left, or I'm not so running out, which would explain why it was 32 eggs extracted, 29 were
Wow.
successfully frozen at age 37. So the fact that I have a high AMH now makes sense at my age now,
Yeah.
why it would have been a higher number of eggs at 37 as well. But we have to get those comprehensive tests and all of these panels to really understand our entire process and our entire health. But this is a great baseline for you to start making some decisions and planning and just being part of this live, you guys. Like, I'm proud of you for just like being here and participating in your own life and giving Afton and I your energy and your ovary time, because it's a beautiful thing, and it takes away the fears, and it takes away some of the doubts and worries, and allows you to know that we're kind of all in this together. So let's just keep talking out loud. And Afton, I am going to wrap it up because I'm sure you're going to like go create something else amazing for Modern Fertility. So I got to let her go, you guys, so she can like keep doing like amazing stuff. But modernfertility.com. And this is the at-home test that I took. You guys were here for my results. Thank you so very much. Afton, to you, your entire team, Raina, all of you guys, I can't wait to continue to work with you, to talk with you. To talk to more women. Like you said, this is the reason that you kept the price down. This is the reason that we do this, is to say, hey, you are not alone. Don't leave any ovary behind. So thank you so much. You know I adore you.
This just like, I'm just so happy right now. This was so much fun. You are the best. I am so, so, so happy that we connected. And this is going to be fun. We're going to scream all of this from the rooftops. And this was just, thank you so much for having me and the opportunity to walk through all of this, and so many people tuning in and asking such good questions the whole time.
Yes. So good. And
I
I'm going
love
to
it.
save this and I'm going to put it on my IG story. Everybody pray for me. Put some prayer hands up that I figure out how to do this. But I'm going to save it and put it on the story. But Afton and I will definitely be doing some more things together.
Yes.
So you're not done with us. Go to modernfertility.com. And again, like I said, leave no ovary behind. Rochelle, I see you. Marquita, I got to call you back about that dream. I love you guys. Phenomenally Autistic. Mama Stu, Nico, Afton, Raina. Blessings, my love. Talk soon.
Bye.
Bye.